The 17th century was a period of momentous scientific discovery. In Italy, the astronomer Galileo Galilei was building the first telescopes. Elsewhere, in France, the mathematician Blaise Pascal was constructing the first calculators. Finally, in the Netherlands, the Dutch scientist Antoine van Leeuwenhoek was observing bacteria for the first time. However, it's the story of a particular Englishman that excites me the most. In the year 1665, a young Isaac Newton was lounging underneath a tree in his family garden when all of a sudden, thunk! An apple falls on his head. Newton was surprised and startled, but he also spent a lot of time reflecting on this experience. He questioned, why did the apple fall down? Why didn't it go sideways? Why didn't it go upwards? Pondering this eventually led him to discover and formulate the law of universal gravitation, a fundamental theory for a lot of modern physics. This law is also the source of frustration for many first-year physics students when they're up late at night working at their problem sets. Anyways, I digress. Now, let's fast forward a couple hundred centuries and cross the Atlantic Ocean. In the year 1880, American inventor Thomas Edison received a patent for his consumer-focused electric incandescent lamp. In order to determine the best filament material for the light bulb, Edison tested thousands of different materials, ranging from precious metals to plant fibers. But what's important to note is that Edison did not use a scientific or even theoretic approach. Rather, he used a largely trial and error-based methodology. Basically, Edison would notate the results of each filament material he tested, and he would reflect on the outcomes. If a material is not successful, perhaps it didn't burn bright enough, or perhaps it didn't burn long enough, Edison would question why, and use this information to guide the next set of filaments to be tested. Edison did not concern himself with failure each time a filament he selected did not work. He just used it to set himself up for better success. Trusting this process eventually led him to identify carbonized cotton to be the ideal filament material. These two stories of Isaac Newton and Thomas Edison are just two historical examples of reflection. Now, let's fast forward to present day. In a similar vein to Edison and Newton, many companies are adopting reflection-based agile development methodologies. Agile is an approach to project management that helps teams complete work faster and more efficiently. Basically, instead of working towards one large goal, an agile team identifies a target goal and breaks a target goal down into a set of smaller sub-goals. The team then works on these sub-goals incrementally. After an increment of work is completed, the team pauses and reflects on the progress toward the target goal. This reflection allows the team to make changes to the target goal as necessary, and also allows them to identify inefficiencies and bottlenecks in the working process. Agile has been adopted and evangelized by many Silicon Valley tech companies, but it's important to note that the principles of reflection-based development can be applied to nearly every industry. Honda, Procter & Gamble, and General Electric are just a few examples of non-tech companies that use Agile every day to deliver or to give innovative products to their customers. Reflection. That is the ability to look back at past experiences and gather applicable insights is a valuable skill for everyone. It powers the discovery and development of new ideas and allows for work to be completed more efficiently. But the question is, how do we teach the skill of reflection? To me, the answer just might lie in experiential learning. Experiential learning, as you may think, is a pretty simple idea. It's just learning by doing anything, really. But what distinguishes it is that in addition to completing the activity, the learner actually pauses and considers what knowledge they have gained and how that knowledge can be applied in the coming future. This should sound similar to, say, Edison's development of the light bulb or the Agile methodology that we just discussed. In my time as a student, I both participated in and planned hackathons, which are a form of experiential learning. So what are these hackathons? Broadly defined, hackathons are invention marathons. They are short, weekend-long competitions where individuals come together to build prototypical solutions to technology problems. Oftentimes, these problems are sourced directly from the industry. After teams finish building their minimal viable products, they pitch them to judges who award prizes to the best teams. So now that we know what a hackathon is, let's go through a day in the life of a hackathon participant and see how reflection is cultivated during this experiential learning event. Here we have Maya, a 19-year-old computer science student. When she first arrives at the hackathon, the first order of business is to network with all the other event attendees. This, however, is not trivial. Hackathons can oftentimes have hundreds or even thousands of participants all coming together to build something amazing. Networking at hackathons is also the closest thing to dating that many computer science students get to experience at their time at university. I know, I can attest to this. Anyways, Maya is on a mission. She is looking for teammates to collaborate with for hackathons or larger collaborative events. Once Maya finds her teammates, Harry and Janet, she must now listen to the challenges presented at the event. So what are the challenges at this hackathon? As we can see here, the challenges range from using virtual reality to help the elderly, to making personal banking more accessible. We also have this very specific challenge. Use this company's API to analyze data and then build a dashboard with a specific technology. As we can see here, hackathons or challenges at hackathons can take many different forms. Some of them are really specific in the requirements and a lot of technologies, while others are super conceptual in general. After this, minor team must 1, decide what challenge to participate in, and 2, determine what to build. This is where reflection happens for the first time in the event. Each member on Maya's team must stop, pause, and reflect individually on their current interests, curiosities, and past experiences. After doing this, the following insights are revealed. Maya, as we mentioned before, is a computer science student. Maya's teammate Harry is an economics major and has an affinity for working in the finance industry upon graduation. And finally, Maya's other teammate Janet has had a past internship in front-end development and user experience design for a large corporation. With these insights in mind, the team decides that it's best to work on the challenge, making personal banking more accessible. After brainstorming and doing some research, the team discovers that many teenagers across the nation lack basic financial literacy and find personal banking to be a very daunting task. In order to help solve this problem, the team decides to create a gamified mobile application where teenagers across the nation can come together to learn more about the wonders of personal finance. This becomes the team's target goal, and they work to break it down into a set of smaller goals. And after this, the hackathon grind begins. The team works throughout the rest of the afternoon and into the evening on those small goals. And they're making really good progress on their working prototype until, bam, Janet's latest code contribution to the working prototype breaks it. She does some research and she realizes that the code library that she was using for a particular feature was not working as expected. She does some more research and realizes that there was a workaround, but that it's overly complex. She immediately raises this to the team, and they all pause and reflect together. They look back at all of the progress that's been made in the app so far. They realize that nobody on the team has the skill set necessary to implement the workaround. They realize that there is limited time left at the hackathon event. With these insights in mind, the team decides that it's best to stop working the small sub-goal. After all, at hackathons, teams are judged on the overall concept of their final idea, not the implementation of each and every small detail. Whether it's coding bugs like with minor team, project scope becoming too large, or even team members becoming burnt out over the course of the event, teams must always be ready to dynamically change their plans in order to remain successful. Pausing and reflecting is arguably the only way to move forward at these hackathon competitions. This cycle of running into roadblocks and reflecting to resolve them happens all the way up until the judging process, where minor team pitch their app show and tell style to the judges at the event. And this is immediately followed by the award ceremony, where minor team are able to meet with the other teams. Reflection also happens here as well. Minor team can look back on what they made, and they can see how it compares with what other teams made. They can use this knowledge to guide them in their future developments. It's also important to know that prizes are awarded to the best teams, but the ultimate prize at hackathons is the experiential learning experience. And there you have it, a full day in the life of a hackathon participant. But I know what you're thinking. You're probably in that audience thinking, oh, I'm not a computer science student. I can't participate in hackathons. Or maybe you are a computer science student, but you don't like the competitive nature that hackathons bring. And that's totally fine. You don't need an experiential learning event in order to develop the skill of reflection. You just need to pause whatever you're doing every once in a while. Look back at how much you've learned. Take the knowledge you've gained and apply it to your future experiences. And who knows, doing this just might lead you to become the next Isaac Newton or Thomas Edison. Thank you.